What's up, everybody? This is the Jersey Devils Brocast, brought to you by Radio Garden State. My name's Papa Reese, and I'm joined tonight by my brother Jim. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing great, dude. This is a little weird. We're on
Yeah, it's a little
video right
interesting,
now,
right?
huh? You
We
get
got
to
the whole
see,
visual going on
we got
now.
the visual going on. You got your Devils broadcast background. I got
Oh
some of my
yeah,
stuff up on the wall here.
I
This
kind
is
of
pretty
like it.
cool.
If I go like
Yeah.
this, you can see the microphone a little bit. Oh no, it just looks like an invisible hockey stick.
Yeah, definitely the butt end of a hockey stick,
The
nothing
butt
else.
end of a hockey stick. Yeah. But this is going to be this a series that we're going to be doing. It's going to be a series of shorts
hmm
that we're going to be putting up on YouTube and our social medias. So check it out and follow Jersey Devils Broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and listen to our Spotify playlist for all the
hmm
songs that we play on the Radio Garden State show. But right now, Devils are in the playoffs, and the Devils are down 2-0 to
Yeah.
Carolina Hurricanes.
Ooh, not game one was a little rough. It looked like they didn't know it
Oh
was a
yeah,
playoff game. It's like they came out of the gate, no pace, no urgency, lost
falling
every puck
asleep at the
battle.
wheel.
Really, it was like deer in the headlights. It was like they were completely caught off guard. It was very surprising, incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, it was shocking. It was
Yeah.
shocking to me. I was immediately pissed off, and I immediately didn't want to watch any more games after
Yeah.
that. But it's like an addiction. You just keep coming back
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. I mean, they rebounded well in game two. They made a lot of adjustments. They tightened it up. I thought they played a much more physical game. I think they had 51 hits in game two. They brought the physicality, but like game one, the thing I was the most disappointed with in game one
What's that?
was like the end of the game, you're getting your asses kicked. Game's
Yeah.
over. There's no response. There's no, we're gonna stir, and this has been like we've talked about this. Like they don't have the depth and like those bottom six
Right.
guys. It's like this is where if this was a playoff game in '95, you're sending a crash line out there. We're gonna start
Yeah,
stirring things
absolutely.
up. We're gonna start hitting guys. We're gonna start trying to get them off their game, get the guys going here, and try and get something. The juices flowing here before the end of the game. Like they don't have guys to do that,
I
and
totally
that
agree.
was
I
like
feel like
very
that's why we got
disappointing.
people like McDermott and stuff, but like I guess he's
He doesn't
just
play.
caliber.
Yeah, he's not in the lineup, and like their fourth line is basically for most of the season been like Lazar and Bastion.
Right.
They're
And
not
what are
those
they gonna
guys.
do?
Like they're
Like,
missing that energy line. I felt like that was like a big maybe something that wasn't really stated enough after game one. Like they don't have that. Or in 2012, Carter, Gianta, Bernier. Like we're gonna throw
right.
these guys out. They're gonna forecheck hard. They're gonna hit. They're gonna play good defense. They're gonna win some faceoffs. We can start turning this thing around a little bit. Maybe even get a goal here or there. Right. We don't.
Yeah,
They're bottom six. They're right now. They're not giving you anything. They're not giving you defense. They're not giving you
they're not.
energy. They're not giving you physicality in game two for sure. They played better defensively in game two, but like they're not really giving you much, and that's been a huge weakness on this team.
And another huge weakness that's been going on since I guess like January or even before that was Sigenthaler's injuries. And
Yeah,
the first game, we lost
hmm
two of our like best defensemen right now.
yeah,
We
yeah.
lost Dylan and we lost
hmm
Luke Hughes.
And
Um,
the Glass and Hughes on the same play.
I know. In the
It was
same play at the
crazy.
end of the game. I love that. Markstrom just friggin' splashes the hell out of Glass. It was just so unfortunate because he
Yeah,
was going for the guy, but
yeah.
got right in front of him. It was like a cartoon almost.
I know it was like a comedy of errors, and it didn't even look like Luke got hit that hard, right? I mean, he kind
No,
of like
not even.
rolled
It
into the
looks,
guy, and then he got down on the
yeah.
ground. He just fell awkwardly, and I was like, "Are you fucking
I
kidding
was
me
like, wait,
right
Luke
now?"
didn't get slashed. What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, and then you see Glass get slashed in the abdomen,
Yeah.
lost his spleen in the process, but he was
Luckily,
back
he
for game
said
two.
luckily, he said he's not that upset since he's like not really that hurt. It's
Yeah,
kind of like funny in the end of the day.
yeah, but
But
that was
now
ooh.
I see Pesci's out.
That was a rest day though.
Oh,
They
rest
did
day.
say later
Okay.
this afternoon that was a maintenance day thing, and Dylan and Luke Hughes, we don't know if they're going to be back for game three.
Right.
I thought missing Luke in game two. I thought game two, that was a game. If you put Jack and Luke in this lineup, they win because
Yeah.
they had so many scoring chances. Freddie Anderson stood on his head.
Oh
I mean,
my
we were
God,
talking
Meyer was
about
a
like
fan.
in our playoff preview show, we're talking about goaltending. I think the
Mhm.
Devils have the advantage. Markstrom played his ass off, but Freddie Anderson, I mean, he saved Carolina in that third period. Devils could have scored 3, 4 times, and he saved their ass. And then that bouncing puck on Timo's stick, and he couldn't put it home.
I
But it's like
know.
you
If it
you
was on
know,
the friggin' ice, he would have gotten that in, but it was just bouncing and fan twice. Like, oh, come on. Another like comedy cartoon type
yeah,
thing.
like it almost feels like it's just not our time. But
Right.
anything can change. But yeah, Anderson stood on his head, and like you feel like if you have Luke and Jack in the lineup, creating more offense and puck possession time, like finishing plays too, that certainly would have made a change there in a tight game where the Devils were really a goal away from changing the entire momentum of that game, and they just couldn't put it home in the third. And what are you going to do?
Right. That was
You know,
it's a little disheartening. I mean, Markstrom's been playing his ass off too. I
yeah,
mean, I really don't see him, giving up bad goals. It's
yeah,
just like we're getting over pressured. You
yeah,
know, we're the first game we weren't having enough possession of the puck. We posted on our Instagram
yeah,
what's going on here. You know,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
some people were comical with like get more points than the other team. Actually, play hockey. But we had another guy
yeah,
say, what was it like? We need to possess the puck. We need good
yeah,
shots. We need to
yeah.
not be taken over by, the other team, and that's what was going on.
Yeah, and Carolina's relentless forecheck, which is their MO all season. And honestly, the way Carolina plays is the way the Devils played like 2012.
Right.
There's a good video of when Mike Sullivan was an assistant on the Rangers yelling like they were. I think it was like they're relentless on the forecheck. There's so much pressure, and that's how the Devils played then. Like Carolina's doing that to the Devils right now. It's just their forecheck is relentless. You get the puck, like you. I mean that, like you said, with puck possession, it's so hard against Carolina to get that. To then see them get the puck, immediately give it up, get it, immediately give it up. Game two is a lot better. But game one, man, I mean, they couldn't hold on. Every pass was intercepted. They were a step behind everybody. There were two. It felt like they were like a play behind. Like there was no. They just didn't have
Yeah.
the pace. They just didn't have the
Game
pace.
game one was absolutely you can't even watch it. You
Yeah,
can't even watch it. But
I'd
game
like to
two,
forget it.
I mean they get first I think they got two on the board. No, one on the board.
Yeah,
Got one on the board first, and then Carolina scored two.
yeah, yeah.
And
Shorthanded too.
and
Oh,
it's just like if we could
oh,
just put another puck in the net, we'd be set. But
yeah.
it just seems like that's just
The
we're at
shorthanded
Achilles heel, really.
goal really felt like the momentum swing of that game. You give up a shorty, man. That's a real
Yeah.
kick in the nuts, and that's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable this time of year, and that's what happened. I know a few fans are kind of on Markstrom for I think it was that goal, but I
Right.
had I'd said too. I'm like, Marty Brodeur gave up plenty of soft goals in the playoffs. The
Yep.
team still responds. You still have to respond to that. And it's not like they were out of the game. It weren't for Markstrom. That would have been at that point probably 3 or 4 to 1 because Carolina came out hot there. They had some momentum there towards the end of the first into the second. It certainly isn't on him, but that's the stuff. It just feels like, yeah, the Devils. I mean, with the injuries and everything, but it just feels like they're just that one step behind. And that shorthanded goal was certainly an example of that.
Yeah, and you hate to see that, but there's a lot of positive things that we're hearing through the grapevine to get out of the playoffs real quick. Speaking of the Hughes brothers, Luke's out, Jack is out,
Yeah,
but who could be coming in either next season or when he's a free agent?
it's Quinn.
Quinn.
Yeah. Yeah. I love all the
Trifecta.
on the Devils fan groups. I posted up, what would you give up for Quinn Hughes? I love seeing the fan
Right.
trade proposals because they
Right.
always want to trade our garbage for a team's best player.
Yeah.
It's like we're all trade Halla, Palat, and a fourth-round pick for the best American defensive man in the game. Like I don't know if Canucks will do that, but that was fascinating to see Jim Rutherford basically just say, like, yeah, he's probably leaving in 2 years. And like, oh, well, we
Right.
could try and bring Jack and Luke here. Well, what are you going to trade us for those two?
Yeah.
Luke
Nothing.
Hughes can't be, he's a restricted free agent, but he's not eligible for an offer sheet. So
Right.
what are you going to do? I mean, they don't have anyone that the Devils are going to want or even of equal value. So,
Right.
I mean, that's
And he's the face of
definitely,
our franchise. Like, I mean, I
yeah,
know Quinn is for them,
yeah,
but
yeah.
did they make anything this year? Like, no, you
No,
know,
no, not at all.
like
So Big steps back. Yeah.
Yeah, if he wants to compete. He wants to be with his brothers.
Hmm.
This is the Three Musketeers. Let's do it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Do you
and
think that
basically he
could?
said he's got nothing he can do. He wants to play with his brothers, and there's no way that they're both going there.
No, I don't think so. No, and I mean for them to then have to make those free agent signings, which neither is going to line up right
Right,
now. Like if Luke signs some sort of bridge deal right now, then becomes an unrestricted free agent. I doubt that will line up with Jack's contract expiring. It might be a year or two off.
right,
So you're now looking at two off seasons, or they might have to sign the Hughes brothers, or they're going to try and trade for both of them. Which again, unless they cultivate a ridiculous amount of prospects and future superstars, that's not going to happen. So
right.
I think
Yeah, I
Quinn's
don't
coming to
see that.
Jersey. I mean,
Yeah,
and the Devils are have to make some moves to make that work, but that's a fascinating storyline. It's not going to go away
right.
until a final decision's made there.
I was reading a little bit of the waves you were making in there, and it was something like you were saying maybe we just wait to free agency,
Yeah,
where we wouldn't have to give really anything up.
yeah.
Is the timeline with the players that are still on the team, would they gel? Would that make sense? Or would getting rid of, but like, you're not gonna give Bastion for,
No, well, and
like, you
he's
know
an
what I mean? Like,
right now. I think if you were going to trade for Quinn Hughes today,
right.
I would imagine they're going to want one of Casey or Nemeth. They're
Mm,
going to want a first round pick. They're going to want an NHL player. So probably a Dawson Mercer would be someone I'd put on. The Devils are going to have to trade a bad contract to make this work too. So now you're probably looking at, if you want them to eat a bad contract too, you're going to have to put in somebody else there to sweeten the deal. So is a
you
guy
might
like
as well wait. Yeah.
Arseni Gritsyuk, or this one kid, I can't pronounce his last name, Hami Nihu from Finland. Can't pronounce his last name, but he had a hell of a season this year, and he's like kind of a rising prospect. Like that's what the Devils would have to do. I don't know if it makes sense to do that, and you can use those assets to go and get secondary scoring and other play. Like the Devils don't need Quinn Hughes right now. They
Right.
need a Quinn Hughes up front, right? They could use another forward or two. They really need depth scoring up front, but their defense is pretty much set. So
Right.
do you go and acquire those guys and then you roll the dice with him for free agency?
Yeah, I would say free agency, but then that comes up. How long do we have, Jack for?
Let me go to Puckpedia, my favorite
Right.
website.
Akpedi.
He's signed for a few years. Luke is the one that's kind of like he's a restricted free agent. We don't know what his contract is going to look like necessarily. I know well, Jack Hughes is signed through the 27-28 season.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, he's not. Sorry. He's signed through the 2000. He's a free agent in 2030.
Jack?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
He's here a
Fuck
while.
Jack.
Yeah. And I would imagine Luke could potentially sign a similar
Deal.
extension that Jack did. He did that after his entry level contract expired.
Right.
So Luke could do the same thing, probably for similar dollar amount. And you
And
got him
maybe he
for
will
8 years.
for that family discount. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You get three Hughes brothers for 8 million apiece. I think Quinn's going to ask for a hell of a lot more than that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fascinating storyline, and the Devils. I mean, for us, seeing Niedermeyer leave for his brother,
Right.
we didn't grow up with. I
Maybe we
mean,
get
like,
that karma back.
yeah, I don't think there's been really any brothers that have played together. The Giantas didn't play together.
Niedermeyer,
Um,
but that's
um,
basically it.
Stastny brothers. Only one of them played on the Devils. This is where my ice cold
Oh, on
goose
the
thing is
Devils, you're
coming through.
saying, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Broughton, both played for the Devils, Neil and Aaron Broughton, but different times.
Right.
Um, Claude Lemieux's brother played for the Devils. Do you know
Right.
that? Jocelyn Lemieux.
Jocelyn Lemieux.
You played like 3 or 4 games.
Beautiful, beautiful Jocelyn.
Beautiful Jocelyn and Pepe.
Right.
um, yeah, that would be a really cool storyline. Do you think now, if you were like a player in a locker room and you had
Mhm.
three brothers in there and
Right.
they're like running the show, how do you feel about that?
And you're not one of them.
Yeah,
I mean, you better be damn good so you could take some of the thunder. I mean, that's a good point. That shifts the dynamic of the locker room. That shifts like the, you know, the Senate seats. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Is
Like,
like now the family runs the show kind of, and you can't trade one of them
right,
because they're all going to have no trade clauses. I'm sure.
right.
I don't know if Luke will be able to right away, but like
I
you
guess it would
trade
be.
one, the other two are unhappy. So how do you manage that?
I guess you would have to be like. I mean, when you're on a team, you like. I know there's some rotten apples, but like you really gotta like know what kind of situation you're going into.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the type of thing it is. Like, okay, if I'm getting traded to the Devils or I'm on the Devils and the Hughes brothers are here now, like depending on what position I play, I can learn from them. But like, there are egos for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like in other sports, egos are a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And in hockey, I feel like it's always a we type of mentality.
Mm-hmm.
If something goes wrong with them individually, they say like I or something, like so I'm not sure if that would be a huge problem, but I could see how it could be for sure, you know?
Yeah, it seems like a little bit of a risk. At least locker room chemistry is such a big part of this. You've seen stories, baseball and hockey for sure, where like you have talented teams, but too many issues going on in the locker. I mean, sometimes those rifts in the locker room bring out the best in guys, but sometimes it really can ruin a season.
Totally.
They all seem like three like guys that are loved by their teammates, all that stuff. At least we can
Right.
see that with Jack and Luke as seeing everything up close here.
Mhm.
But that would sort of be interesting. Like, is Nico Heischer? I'm sure he'd love to have Quinn Hughes, but like
Right.
he's the captain. He's
Right.
he's
Yeah.
kind of the man, right? And I mean, he's been playing that way too. By the way, I think he's been playing very well.
And I mean,
But
dude, he's going to be captain.
and
Jack,
then you have these three brothers
yeah,
here. That you kind of are they going to kind of be the ones running the show?
we're all going to be assistant like captains. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, like it's kind of a weird, little bit of an odd situation. Might be a nothing, that might work perfectly. But then also, I mean, we've seen, you have to make a trade. You want to make a move. You want to make, maybe it comes down to we have too many offensive defensemen. We don't necessarily need another one. Where if they weren't brothers, you might be trading one of them to get an asset to fill in another space. And now that's almost like three guys that are virtually untouchable. You cannot trade them.
well, Hamilton, right? His contract, when is
Yeah.
his contract up?
Well, I think his contract is up the year after Quinn is a free agent. So if you trade him to clear out some cap space,
Right.
Quinn would take that spot. But right now, that looks like it's Luke's spot.
Right.
So that's like it's a bit of an interesting situation. I feel like there's a lot of layers to this, more so than just three brothers that love each other and they want to play hockey together. Like
Yeah, a lot more. There's
it's a
going to be a
little
lot more
more,
than that when it gets
yeah, for
down to it.
sure.
There's going to
So
be some sort of sacrifice that has to be made on the Devils' end for sure.
yeah,
Sacrifices. It seems like the team from across the river has completely sacrificed themselves in this
yeah,
jury deal here.
yeah, yeah. That's a weird situation over there.
Yeah, what just happened?
So Laviolette was fired, right? He's
Fire.
gone.
Right.
And now Chris Drury, their GM and president, has been signed to an extension,
Right.
which I think is strange considering all the stuff that was coming out this year. Like
Very.
the story is the organization treats their players very well, but there
Mhm.
was a lot of issues with how Chris Drury was doing things. So like
Right.
top level, James Dolan, who owns the team, who has his own history, but like the players like playing for him and how ownership treats the players and takes care of them.
Right.
And this Chris Drury stuff and the Barkley Goodrow trade, not really sticking up for Truba, and he was your captain. And Drury was a captain
Yeah.
on the Rangers, not that long ago, like 15 years ago, he was a captain
Hmm.
on the Rangers.
Yep.
And like how that created some locker room issues and like kind of the selling this year, and then you bring him back, and it seemed like there's a lot of issues going on. And if there was ever a time for them to, well, the coach is now gone. Like maybe it's time. I don't
Break.
want to give them any good ideas here because I hate them. I
Exactly.
hate them.
Yeah.
But like if there was ever a time to kind of do a little retool, tear it down, trade some guys away, fresh look on the franchise, it'd be now. But I
Hmm.
hope they keep Chris Drury for the next 20 years.
Yeah. Exactly. Great
That's
idea,
fine.
guys.
Yeah, keep
Run with
running
that.
it further into the ground, please.
Right.
Further into the ground.
How deep can you dig yourself a hole?
Yeah, please. Keep going.
Speaking of a hole,
Hmm.
I dug myself out of mine because Lou Lamoriello got fired.
Well, he wasn't renewed. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
wasn't renewed.
That's nice.
Yeah, a better way of
But
saying please leave.
right.
Yeah.
During April Fool's Day, I got April
Hmm.
fooled seeing a post that Lou Lamoriello got fired.
Yeah.
And well, guess what? Lou Lamoriello is not with the Islanders anymore, but
Yeah.
he had a great stint with the Devils, tell you that much.
Yeah, I think now's a good time to put him in a Ring of Honor next year.
I think it is.
I think it is. It's time.
Yeah. It's time you bring all the Stanley Cup teams together, put them all on the ice, whoever wants,
Hmm. Yeah.
and they'll put them up just like we saw Jacques Lemaire,
Yep. Or I'd even think of putting Lamorello, giving him a banner too.
right?
I mean, if
Absolutely.
there's anyone who deserves the over the top, and he sounds like a guy who would hate it, but he
Right.
deserves it. Like you have to.
Absolutely.
Ring of Honor, you put a banner up. I know the Islanders did that with their GM that built the dynasty teams of like
Right.
have him up there with all the Stanley Cup years there under his name. And like, he's just without Lamorello, you don't win those cups. You don't have the Devils culture. You don't have Stevens. You don't have
You don't have the
any of that.
dynasty.
You don't have it. So there is ever a time, come back, Lou, hang out in Jersey, take it easy, man.
Right.
We love you over here, man.
We
We love
love
you.
you over here. Come hang out. Just don't run the
Yeah.
team. Did a great job for so long. You don't want to ruin
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, we don't need more old veteran contracts and stuff. So
Right.
just don't run the team, but come back, hang out, show up to some games,
Right.
you know.
Some hands sign my hat again.
Yes, get yelled at by a 6'7" guy in the main concourse.
That's right. Well, guys, we want to say thank you so much for listening to the Jersey Devils broadcast on Radio Garden State. Thanks for listening to our shorts and keep on listening to them and watch us now since we're visual on our shorts here on Radio Garden State's Jersey Devils broadcast. My name is Papa Reese,
I'm Jim.
and let's go Devils.
Let's go, Devils.
All right, y'all. We'll see you soon. Peace.